The Baltimore Ravens are off to Buffalo this week to take on the Bills, who finally got a playoff win at home in front of a few of their beloved Bills Mafia, no less.
Rivers airs it out. It is knocked away. It took a quarter of a century, and the Buffalo Bills have won a playoff game.
Their playoff win may have been sealed by their defense, but they won it the way they won most of their 2020 games, by letting Air Allen do his thing.
No, he's a thrower. Touchdown!
Josh Allen threw for over 300 yards, 2 TDs, and a rating over 120.
Oh, pretty fake by Allen.
Those numbers right in line with Allen's 2020 numbers, Allen breaking out for 37 TD passes against just 10 picks.
Gets out of it, throws across the body, it's caught along the sideline.
And on the receiving end of many of those passes, Stefon Diggs, the NFL's leader in receptions and yards this season.
What a connection, Allen and Diggs.
And his Bills playoff debut fit right in with his season numbers, over 120 yards and a score against the Colts.
Touchdown! On the line to Stefon Diggs.
And just like in the regular season, they had Cole Beasley picking up chunk plays over the middle. He had close to 1,000 yards this year, and even on a bum knee, he was able to lead the team in receptions against Indy with 7.
And once again, Cole Beasley.
And now it seems like Allen has a legit third option, too. Gabriel Davis has close to 200 yards in their last 2 games.
Find his man, Gabriel Davis.
Baltimore's defense doesn't get the fanfare their Lamar Jackson-led offense does, but they put the stamp on Jackson's first playoff win.
Steps and fires, and it's intercepted. It's Marquise who makes the play.
Baltimore's secondary didn't just finish the game with that pick and dance. They held Ryan Tannehill to just 165 passing yards for the game.
Humphrey's able to knock it away.
And Baltimore's season numbers against the pass were solid too. 7th lowest rating allowed, 6th fewest passing yards per game allowed, and 2nd lowest yards per attempt allowed.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
And where they really stand out, preventing the big pass play. 2nd lowest yards per attempt allowed, 2nd lowest yards per catch allowed, and 4th fewest passes of 20-plus yards allowed.
Overthrew Brown by a wide margin.
The deep pass, though, is an Allen specialty.
End zone shot, got him in!
Buffalo threw the 4th most passes of 20-plus yards in 2020.
Wide open is Brown!
Buffalo will have to make sure Allen has time. They usually do. They gave up the 9th fewest sacks this season.
Throws it to the end zone! Touchdown, Buffalo!
Baltimore will send the house after him, though. They blitzed at the highest rate in the NFL this year.
Sacked, it's Matthew Judon!
All that blitzing produced the 2nd most QB hits, tied for the 11th most sacks.
Jones sacked for a 3rd straight snap!
Pressuring the QB helped make them the 2nd best D on 3rd down and the 2nd hardest team to score on overall.
Slings it off to Henry, but he won't get back down. It's a loss of 2.
Here you have another monster matchup because no team was better at moving the chains than the Bills were.
Allen sings it for a first down.
Buffalo wasn't as effective once they got in the red zone, however, falling in the middle of the pack.
Fires end zone, and it's incomplete.
But Baltimore was bad defensively at stopping teams from scoring TDs once they got inside the 20, finishing 18th on that front.
There are no flags. Touchdown.
They also didn't do great against play action, which they'll have to be ready for in this matchup. They were middle of the pack, allowing a 100-plus passer rating.
Mayfield to throw. Down the sideline, it is caught.
And the Bills rely on play action plenty. They had the 2nd most attempts this season.
It's going to be a touchdown, Buffalo, and Tyler Croft.
You'd think a team using the fake handoff that often must run the ball a lot, but they don't. Their backs only ran the ball 10 times against the Colts.
First down run for Buffalo.
And for the year, they were middle of the pack in rush attempts, but they averaged 4.2 a run. Their ground game doing just enough to sell teams on the idea they might run it.
Singletary into the secondary.
When they do actually hand off, they'll be up against a D that wasn't a brick wall against ball carriers in 2020.
Shaw breaks a tackle into the end zone.
But they put up a steel wall last week against Derrick Henry, completely shutting down the league's top rusher.
Met in the backfield and dropped immediately.
What they will have to account for, though, in this matchup is a mobile quarterback.
He's got a wide open lane and a Buffalo touchdown!
Allen didn't rack up massive yards this year on the ground, but he's a beast when he does take off, scoring 8 times on the season.
Josh Allen weaving to the end zone!
And he was Buffalo's lead rusher in their win over the Colts.
into the end zone.
But who are we kidding here? If we're going to talk dual threat signal callers, it always starts with the gold standard of running QBs.
First down and plenty more down the sideline.
Lamar Jackson's first playoff win was fueled by his legs, which is shocking to no one. It was a Barry Sanders-like performance because it was a bunch of nothing runs at first, and then all of a sudden he's breaking off big run after big run.
And he's got it more! Lamar Jackson!
136 yards, 8.5 per, 1 TD.
Touchdown, Baltimore!
But what makes Baltimore so hard to handle when they tote the rock is defenses can't just lock in on Jackson, because on many of those read options they run, the ball ends up in the hands of J.K.Dobbins, and he did good things with it this year and last week.
It's Dobbins right into the end zone for the touchdown!
And they also feed their bus a fair share. Gus Edwards, the third head of their three-headed rush monster.
Edwards easily has the first down.
That attack is going to challenge Buffalo's defense because its weak spot is stopping run games. Over 4.6 yards per carry allowed for the season.
Drake finds open running room.
And they were worse last week, too, giving up over 5 a run to the Colts.
Breaking away downfield.
They're much tougher against passing games. 5th lowest passer rating allowed, 10th lowest yards per attempt allowed, and tied for the 7th most interceptions.
Grab right here, Josh Norman. It's a pick six.
They didn't pick Phillip Rivers off, though, and gave up over 300 yards and 2 TDs to him.
Rivers wide open. Touchdown.
But how many pass attempts will they see this week? Only a few teams threw less often than Baltimore did this year.
Jackson throwing for it. It's Hollywood, and he's got it.
When Jackson does throw, he primarily looks for 2 guys, starting with tight end Mark Andrews.
It is Andrews, the tight end.
But it was Hollywood Brown who fueled the Ravens' passing attack last week, going for over 100 yards.
Get it to Marquise. Brown makes a man miss.
Jackson does take his fair share of sacks when he drops back, middle of the pack in sacks allowed on a team that didn't pass much.
Here's Jackson trying to break free, and he's going to be dropped.
And the Titans even got to him 5 times in their win, and they had one of the weakest pass rushes in the league.
Got some pressure and can't get out of it.
Despite all that, though, Baltimore was still the 7th highest scoring team this season, 4th best on 3rd down.
Caught for the touchdown.
And they had the 12th highest TD percentage inside the 20, too.
Oh, I'm missing out, baby. Oh, I'm missing out. Oh, yo.
And Buffalo struggled on defense inside the 20. Only 4 teams gave up a higher TD percentage in the red zone.
Rivers dials it up. Touchdown.
Ultimately, it's worth at least looking at how the Bills handled QBs who run. They faced Cam Newton twice, 2 TDs scored on 13 total rush attempts, 78 yards, which pencils out to 6 yards a run.
Takes it in. Touchdown, Patriots.
And when they faced Kyler Murray, he scored on them twice, ran for 61 yards on his 11 attempts.
To the end zone. Touchdown.
And now they have to take on the Lamborghini of mobile QBs.
All the way. Touchdown.
So what does that make Allen then? He's more like an old 4-wheel drive pickup truck that you take off-roading. It's a different kind of way to travel, but it can still be just as much fun.
Still on his feet.
This game might be the most intriguing of the 4 games this week, which makes seeing everyone's predicted outcomes that much more interesting. This isn't going to be one of those games where everyone goes with one team.
We this close to getting what we want. We this close, man. We this close to perfection.
So which one are you taking? Let us know by posting your predictions in the comments section.
That's what we do.
We will let you know who our panel of 10 is going with right now.